Today on the CTV News at 5, attempted murder charges in a Lethbridge nightclub shooting. Plus, major honor, how the Toronto Blue Jays are paying tribute to Tanner Craswell and Mitch McLean. And a reunion of high school friends 50 years in the making.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. 3 men facing attempted murder charges after a shooting at a Lethbridge nightclub will be in court tomorrow. Officers say the man went into the Studio 54 club around 2:30 Friday morning. One of them took out a gun and shot a 30-year-old Ottawa man in the torso. The victim was flown to Calgary Hospital, where he remains in stable condition. Nightclub staff tried to stop the men from leaving, but the gunman then fired several rounds into the air. All 3 suspects fled. Police arrested and charged 3 men Friday afternoon at a Lethbridge hotel. 2 of them are from Edmonton, the 3rd from Toronto. Search crews continued combing neighborhoods around the nightclub for evidence Saturday afternoon. Police say the attack was targeted and was related to drugs. Mounties suspect that drunk driving in a fatal crash near Brooks this weekend was a major factor. It happened early Sunday morning on Highway 36 South near the Antelope Creek area. Friends have identified the victims of the crash as 22-year-old Ben Shackleton from the Rolling Hills area. Tributes are pouring into his Facebook page. The other is 20-year-old Angie Williamson. Friends say she was living in Brooks and had attended Lomond School. RCMP say a Ford F-150 was traveling south when it drifted into the northbound lane and then overcorrected going into the west side ditch. Police say the vehicle then lost control and partially rolled, ejecting the 2 occupants. RCMP say emergency services found both deceased at the scene. RCMP also tell us that neither of the victims were wearing their seatbelts at the time of the crash. A 30-year-old man from Invermere is dead after a night of drinking. Last week, police and emergency services were called to a home on 5th Avenue in Invermere after a man was found dead outside a home. Police found that 30-year-old Corey Jarrick had been kicked from a house party and was found the next morning in the driveway of the property. Police are continuing their investigation and they'll speak to everyone at the party to find out more about the incident. And we're learning more tonight about the mistakes of a former Calgary pathologist. CTV has exclusively obtained the autopsy files of Dr. Michael Belenky, files that reveal his errors and the lengths the government is going to try to fix them. One woman from Fort Macleod says it hasn't gone far enough.
To me, it's just another crime committed against her, on top of what happened.
Charlotte Shaw's sister was murdered. The doctor, Michael Belenky, performed her autopsy. Charlotte demanded that Alberta Justice take another look at the file, and the errors they found were startling. Dr. Belenky said the blow to the victim's skull on the left, when it was actually on the right. He even got the color of her clothing and her jewelry wrong.
I feel like she was a tax-paying citizen, and just horrifying that someone in this position of trust could make any mistake, even a spelling mistake, like she was just treated like a joke.
Charlotte says more than anything else she wants an apology from Alberta Justice. The government says it reviewed all of Dr. Belenky's files and found no miscarriages of justice. But Belenky is being sued by the family of a 2-year-old boy who died in 2009 in another case. Belenky ruled that the little boy's death was from blunt force head injuries, a homicide. It was later determined to be an accident. Lethbridge Fire and Police are investigating a suspected weekend arson. Around 9:30 Saturday night, a neighbor saw smoke in a house and called 911. Firefighters found a back window smashed out and fire inside the home. They quickly put out the blaze and say there is heavy smoke damage inside the building. Police are trying to track down a native man in his 20s, about 5'9", with a slim build and shoulder-length black hair, who witnesses saw near the house before the fire started. Firefighters say the building used to be a group home for Kainai Children's Services, but no one lives there now.
But it's in the process of being renovated, so they can turn it. It's been all vacant for almost a year now. They do have somebody checking it every day now, though.
Anyone with information on the fire or suspicious activity in the area Saturday evening is urged to contact police. Fire investigators estimate that the damage on the home is around $500. Lethbridge police are investigating an armed robbery at a 7-Eleven store on Mayor McGrath Drive South. Early yesterday morning, a Caucasian man about 6 feet tall went into the store demanding money and showing a firearm. If you have any information, again, you're urged to contact police. Dory Rossiter is here, and Dory, we've got a nice warm start to the week, but it's going to cool off as the week progresses.
Yeah, the other shoe always has to drop, Jackie, and it is going to drop as we get later into the week. However, Monday, today, of course, Tuesday, Wednesday, looking at nice conditions and very mild temperatures. We could very easily hit 20 degrees for a daytime high on Wednesday. I'll save the other details for when we come back in a couple of minutes.
Thanks, Dory. Wildrose leader Danielle Smith was back on the campaign trail today in Edmonton after a break for Easter on Sunday. She spent part of the weekend door knocking in southern Alberta as well.
This wait time guarantee will guarantee that Albertans get access to 10 critical health procedures within the wait time benchmarks that have been set.
Smith hosted an Easter egg hunt at Nicholas Sharon School where she announced her party's healthcare patient wait time guarantee. She's promising if Alberta's public hospitals can't meet national waiting guidelines, the province will pay to have procedures performed in the private system. The Wildrose leader also campaigned this weekend in Cardston, had smashed in Buffalo Jump and Nanton. Smith also responded to Alison Redford's claim that Wildrose candidates with controversial resumes are being muzzled.
One of the things that we have come to terms with as a party is that we focus on the things on which we all agree. In our party, we have people with a broad range of perspectives, but we don't spend all of our time sitting around talking about contentious moral issues. We talk about the areas which we can agree on.
On Election Day, Albertans will get another ballot. The second one will allow you to vote for up to 3 senators. Stephen Harper has agreed to appoint senators who receive the most ballots. So far, Alberta is the only province in Canada that elects members of the upper house. And meanwhile, on the campaign trail today, PC leader Alison Redford began her day northeast of Calgary in the town of Bicycle. She said her party will work to make rural life a viable option for Albertans in the future. She says the PCs will offer tuition rebates to medical students who commit to spend at least 10 years in a rural centre. She also said she'll make it easier for post-secondary students to get degrees outside of the big cities and will promote agricultural business.
Cultural industry as it is more important than ever, but what comes next is just as exciting. And we need policies that will continue to make communities vibrant and prosperous. Albertans need us to provide focused investment, effective supports, and leadership so that they can do this everywhere that they live.
Liberal leader Ross Sherman is in Edmonton today. NDP leader Brian Mason was in both Calgary and Red Deer. Alberta Party leader Glenn Taylor is campaigning in Hinton. It was 95 years ago today that the Canadian military won the greatest battle in this country's history. It was a moving scene in northern France today. 5,000 Canadian students gathered at Vimy Ridge to mark the 95th anniversary of the battle. Dressed in red, they braved the heavy rain at the Canadian National Vimy Memorial to pay tribute to the 3,500 soldiers who fought and died there. The students came from across the country and stood at the ceremony in some places to represent a fallen soldier from their home region. Canadian troops captured the Vimy battlefield from the Germans on Easter Monday, 1917, turning the tide of the First World War and marking a key moment in Canada's military history. A similar ceremony at the National War Memorial in Ottawa this morning. All branches of the Canadian military were on hand to honor the men who fought at Vimy in World War I. Canadian students also took part in the ceremony in our nation's capital as well. Well, a Lethbridge woman's dream has come true. She has been reunited with 3 of her best friends from high school whom she hasn't seen in over 5 decades. Alicia Fieldberg met with the ladies who say it seems like time hasn't even passed.
You'd never guess these 4 best friends haven't seen each other in 50 years. They've reunited for the first time since high school and say nothing's changed.
We felt like teenagers this weekend. Just where we left off when we finished high school.
It's been like we've been together forever.
Yeah.
We just picked up right where we left off.
Yeah.
50 years ago.
The ladies have kept in touch with annual Christmas letters, but Lethbridge resident Lorian Beauchesney wanted to reunite her friends to celebrate their 70th birthdays. Though it's a few months past their actual birthdays, an organization called Second Wind Dreams granted Lorian's wish and brought in her friends from Red Deer, BC, and Wyoming. They spent time catching up while touring Lethbridge sites and restaurants.
We've had the most enjoyable unbirthday this weekend.
The ladies reminisced about growing up in Vermilion together and the time they spent in a church group called CGIT.
They used to say craziest girls in town, but it was Canadian Girls in Training.
They share fond memories of singing in the choir and riding bikes together, but say it's always been their birthdays that keep them connected.
And our parents knew each other, so we'd have these birthday parties, and they were just a hoot.
One right after another.
One right after another. September was a busy month.
The ladies say they've been treated like celebrities over the weekend, but it's the chance to reconnect that's been the most special.
I have not had a weekend like this for years.
Alicia Fieldberg, CTV News, Lethbridge.
The friends' birthdays are less than 4 weeks apart. Betty, Elizabeth, and Merle's are in September. Lauren's is October the 2nd. Second Wind's Dreams grants wishes for seniors. You can contact the organization at 403-360-5026. One of Southern Alberta's most prolific and respected photographers has been recognized with a commemorative sign outside his former studio. The Gushel Studio Heritage sign was unveiled last week in the Crow's Nest Pass. The studio building is part of the Crow's Nest Heritage Driving Route and Blairmore Historical Walking Tour. The studio was established by Thomas Gushel, who lived and worked in the Crow's Nest Pass. The building was restored and is now operated by the University of Lethbridge. It's used as a sanctuary and inspiration for professional artists and writers. To the markets today now, where the dollar closed on a lower note to start the week. Here are the final numbers.